Welcome to the Drew Yari Show.
Special Friday edition of the Drew Yari Show. I am your host, Yari, and with me is a special guest, well, one half of the special guests I was going to have on the show.
One half.
From the show Architect Podcast, which you can find pretty much anywhere podcasts are distributed, like Google Play, iTunes, what have you. One half, Derek.
Hello there, guys. Wow, it's been, months since we said we were actually going to do this, and now we're finally doing it.
Well, because when I started this last year, I was supposed to have you on, and then something happened. I think you canceled at the last minute, and
yeah. So yeah, because not that I canceled. It's that. So we were originally going to review the MCU from Phase 1 to 2 to 3. And then we kind of just stopped at Phase 1 because we were kind of burning ourselves out rewatching the movies.
Oh, okay.
And to be fair, I just didn't want to rewatch Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that. That's that one's pretty rough. I mean, it couldn't be as bad as The Incredible
Hulk. I actually like The Incredible Hulk. I know a lot of people don't, but I think if Mark Ruffalo was in the movie, it probably would have made it 10 times better than what we got.
You know, interesting fact, the director wanted Mark Ruffalo, but the studio wanted Ed Norton.
I read about that, and look where that got them.
It pretty much got him nowhere. I mean, it would have been interesting to have Mark Ruffalo in that movie. It probably would have made it a little better. But I don't know. I guess shit happens the way it should.
Shit happens, but well, I'm glad to finally be on here. Unfortunately, my partner is he's just leaving his work. And if anyone from Architect is listening, we don't disclose the information of our work location for a variety of reasons. So I'm hoping that same rule can apply here.
It's the world of oceans. Is that what it's called?
I'm not gonna confirm nor deny that.
Ocean Land. We'll just call it Ocean Land.
Sure. So, but I guess can I do a plug-in while I'm here?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. So, if you are not familiar with Architect, please be sure to check us out on Facebook. Type in Architect. Follow us on Instagram at Architect Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Architect Pod. And then, if you want to email us, give us suggestions. If you want more crossovers like this to happen, which I would hope would happen, because I think today's going to be a very interesting episode, make sure you send us an email at attackarc@gmail.com. That is ATTACKARC, gmail.com. And then for all your Architect needs, you can find us on, I think that for a second, usually this is Irving's part, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, some other places. See, this works better when Irving's here because he's more the technical guy. I'm more the social and interactive guy.
So like, not to like skip ahead or anything, but first things first. Did you want to start without Irving, or just like start and then when he comes in, just kind of fill him in on what we're talking about already?
I think by the time he gets here, we can just fill him in. He'll have his thoughts, and then because he said we can start without him. He'll probably come in. He'll probably come in here with a Chipotle ball. So if you hear smacking on your episode,
that's you.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. That's my mouth watering from last night. That's me wanting more. Like, yeah. You know that. Like, it's like that Dave Chappelle skit when he's scratching his neck and he's like, you got any more of them cracks?
That was pretty much everyone in the theater. Before we jump into there, just kind of piggybacking off of something you said about doing crossovers. I wanted to put this in a social media post. I guess I can just say it right now. I am more than willing to be on anyone's show. I was just recently on our friend Peter's show, the Peter Position, which is a lot of fun. I always have fun being on other people's shows. It kind of takes the weight off me to having to be the host. And,
All right, because you talked about guy on guy stuff, right?
Yeah, we did, man. It was awesome. I love guy on guy stuff.
I know I would say that's the one thing you two have in common right now.
Goddamn right. But no. Yeah, just being on other people's shows is always fun. I don't always have to be the host. I can just sit back and relax. And when you're the host, being the host and being the guest both are fun. I would say being a guest is a little bit more fun. When you're the host, you kind of have to be the moderator. You have to have everything on deck. You have to have all your notes, and you have to seem like a professional as coordinating my fake tie that I don't have. But if any of y'all are listening, if you want me on your show, hit me up on Twitter, Drew Yari Show, and let's get something going.
So I guess maybe to start this off. So I guess let's go all the way back and
Well, here's what I was gonna do if you're interested.
Sure, it's your show. I don't want to step over. So yeah.
Well, I was just gonna throw this out. Spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. The movie literally came out today nationwide, but it technically came out on Monday, and then it came out in I think Japan on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then Thursdays. What was that?
Well, if you want, did you want to kind of do some spoiler free stuff and then go into the spoiler stuff?
Yes, I was gonna. Well, the first portion I was gonna do spoiler free, just kind of talking about what you like, what you didn't like, what you maybe wanted more of, and then get into the spoiler part of the show.
Yeah.
All right. First question for the spoiler free review. Describe the atmosphere in the theater you're in.
The atmosphere? It felt, well, I guess from a tech, it felt stuffy at the beginning because everybody rushed in right at showtime.
Mm-hmm.
So for a while it was just myself and Irving and his girlfriend. And then once the movie settled, the atmosphere was, everybody was invested. Everybody laughed. Everybody cheered, cried at the right moments. It's like everybody. It's like everybody. They wanted to laugh, but they also wanted not to laugh, not just for themselves, but for everybody else, so that way we can enjoy the movie and there's not too much sound. So, it was a very relaxing mood in the theater I was in.
Yeah, same here. It was kind of one of those feelings that you get into the theater, you're like, okay, I'm already here. It was packed. It was packed as fuck.
I'm actually amazed because the theater we went to, it was the most it was packed is at the concession stand.
Damn. But what the fuck are my dogs barking about? We get there. I think the only problem I had during the movie was I don't know if it was a small child or if it was a special needs kid. Throughout maybe the first 30 minutes, they kept making these random ass noises. I kept hearing, and after a while they stopped, but that was just very distracting.
It sounds like you were trying to do the Halo theme.
Stop fucking playing Halo and watch the damn movie. Give me a sec. I need to go see what my dog's barking at.
Okay, that's fine.
Keep talking.
Okay. I didn't have that issue, surprisingly. I didn't really have any kids crying in my theater. If anything, it was mainly high school kids that were filling up the theater. And like I said, they all showed up really late, and everybody was. Nobody really said anything. I will say probably my biggest regret is movie theater we went to at the concession stand. They were So there's two levels. At the bottom level, there's two concession stands, one on the bottom level and then one on the top level. And I think my biggest regret from that night is I went to the top level since that's where our movie was at. I went to that concession stand and I just got like a drink and popcorn. And then I see people walking in and they have the souvenir popcorn buckets and cups. And I found out that they're selling them at the bottom. So I I wish I would have gotten one. And it's cool because I think the cups had different Avengers on them.
Which theater did you go to?
We went to the Quarry.
Oh, not fancy. We went to not Palladium, Casablanca. I don't know if you have it. Do you have the? Are you a Santikos rewards member?
No, I have a Fandango account, but that's it.
Yeah, me. I pretty much have all the accounts. With Santikos, they'll send you like random emails being like, "Hey, if you watch this trailer for blah blah blah, you'll get an extra 5 points on your account. And if you make like a certain amount, if you meet like a certain amount of points, they'll give you like, hey, here's $5 off your next purchase or whatever." So yeah, I didn't really get anything to eat because we already ate before we got there. And when I got there, all I literally just said was, "I just want that cup." And it was like $8, and because I had $5 on my account, they took the $5 off, and it was only like three something. So yeah, going back to the theater, I mean that was only really my only gripe was that kid that kept just making those random noises, and after a while, I guess they stopped. But yeah, basically what you just said, everyone laughed, everyone cried, everyone screamed, everyone went apeshit crazy at the end, and you know what I'm talking about.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like pretty much, and we're gonna get to the spoiler part of the review, but basically when that scene happened, I was trying so hard not to cry, mainly because I had contacts in and I didn't want to mess them up. But I was geeking out like crazy, but I was trying so hard not to cry. I look over at Betty, and she's like Niagara Falls, like she's crying that hard at this scene.
Yeah.
But
No, it's okay. I too cried when I found out Captain America and Iron Man's moms were Martha.
damn, like damn, Derek, why'd you have to give that away?
Oops. Oops,
Next,
I'm sorry.
next,
I thought
next
that was
year,
in the trailer.
next year, you're telling them that Hannah Montana died. God damn it!
Ah, man. I hope they don't find out that Emperor Palpatine was laughing at the end of the movie.
Shit! Why don't you just tell them
Oop.
about Shaggy sacrificing his life to save the world from Thanos? Shit!
I thought that was Ant-Man crawling up his butt.
Well, fuck, Derek. I guess we gotta get into the spoiler part. Thanks a lot. Sheesh.
Ah. Whoops, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Drew Yarians. What do you call your fans? Do you call them like Yaris, Yardians?
Well, first things first, I don't even know if I have fans.
You got fans in low places.
I got fans.
You have
Okay, I'm not singing.
you have
But yeah. All right, now we're gonna get to the spoiler part of the show. Again, spoilers for those who haven't seen the movie. You might want to click off of the show and maybe listen to it at a different time. But if you've seen the movie, listen. If you don't really give a fuck, and just listen, I guess. Do whatever you want.
And if you're one of those people that posted the spoiler clips on YouTube days before the movie came out, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, you're a bunch of cunts. Like, come on, that's a whole new level of being a cunt. Like, and Josh Brolin, he put this on his Instagram page. These are people grew up with these movies. There's literally people who grew up with these movies, and then there's people like us who weren't.
I
really,
myself,
yeah, like they were part of our childhood. I mean, by the time the movies came out, we were like, I guess either graduated from high school or still in high school. But these movies are part of pop culture. What was that?
you're old. The MCU started when I was in eighth grade.
Like
So,
it was like
so
a year after I graduated high school when the first Iron Man came out, and I remember Iron Man and the Dark Knight came out literally around the same time.
fun fact: I didn't actually watch The Dark Knight until years later, and now I have the box. I now have the trilogy.
Yeah, possibly one of the greatest, probably the greatest superhero movie of all time. Maybe this might even replace that. But all right, spoiler part of the show. Here we go. I mean, I don't know if you want to go by scene by scene or just talk about the movie as a whole.
I guess I guess what we can maybe um, scene by scene talk about the characters, talk about what's to come. Um, like I felt that I think that might be more appropriate because then we can kind of backtrack later on and go more in depth of what we're talking about.
All right, we'll begin. The movie begins with a scene from the trailer. You see Hawkeye, shooting arrows with his daughter to kind of, I guess, groom her as the next Hawkeye. And it's a nice little family picnic at his farm. And then he tells her, "Hey, go get that arrow." He turns around and she's gone, like whoosh, because she's one of the victims of the snap. Turns around,
See
sees
that?
his. I'm sorry.
Oh, that I'm sorry, like that. My jaw dropped when that scene started because what sucks is that you're expecting it to happen, and like I feel like I saw it, but I don't know if anyone else did because whenever I see other people talking about this part, no one mentions how like you can actually see the dust like blowing away in the wind.
Yeah, that scene when you look back on it's very. I mean, I wouldn't say creepy. It's a little haunting because it's very tense. Because like you can almost expect it, especially if there's people that haven't seen Infinity War, which I don't know who hasn't. That's like a part of pop culture. But immediately when that scene came up, matter of fact, when I saw that scene in the trailer, I went, "Shit, he's gonna lose his kids. He's gonna lose his family. That's how he becomes Ronin. I mean, not Ronin. Shit.
No, Ronan. No, it is Ronan.
But Ronin isn't he Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, okay, so Guardians is Ronin with an A, and then Hawkeye becomes Ronin with an I.
Oh fuck! I was thinking of someone else. Yeah, but yeah, that's how he becomes that character later in the movie. So yeah, he loses his family in the snap,
I'm
and
glad they didn't at least show the kids turning into dust because I think that would have just haunted everyone's nightmares.
yeah, because I was expecting to hear his daughter say "Daddy," and then he turns around and she's dusting away, and then you hear "Babe," and you see his kids and his wife dusting away. But I'm glad it was more just like they just made it quick. Because if you had to hear and see them actually being dusted away, that just would have been disturbing.
Yes, it would have.
So yeah, getting to the intro, they showed the intro. They didn't, show the dramatic, Marvel Studios music.
Did you did you notice during the opening logo that all the characters that got dusted like were actually removed from their scenes?
I didn't notice that. I need to watch the movie again because there's certain parts that I might forget. So you might have to remind me of certain parts because I need to.
Yeah.
There's certain
Yeah.
parts I
So
need to connect the dots to.
right, but so when I was watching the movie and I was looking through the opening scenes, I noticed that certain characters like Doctor Strange was missing, Spider Man, the Falcon, Scarlet Witch. Like normally you see them pop out, but in this time they were absent from their scenes. Like the only members that you would see are anyone that survived the snap.
But that's amazing
That's
actually.
that's that's really good attention to detail.
Yeah, Marvel like that's the thing I like about him is continuity because that's one thing I said after the movie. Because we're gonna get into the movie, we're gonna get much more into the movie, but that's one thing I said after the movie was continuity. Like because there's a lot of characters that they brought back, like cameos at the wazoo.
I'd
And
actually like to I'd actually like to go into the continuity because for the longest time, Irving and I have been trying to map out the exact timeline, and it's like now we actually have years.
like, I don't know, that's just amazing how they did that in the intro. But getting to the intro, you see Tony Stark on the on I think it's called the Milano that
No,
the guard that was that
this one's the Benatar. The Milano's the first one from the first Guardians.
okay Benatar with Nebula post Infinity War after everything that happened and they're playing like I guess paper football or whatever and it looks like they're bonding and then they show another scene from the trailer where he's trying to give a message to Pepper saying oxygen and food ran out a couple of days ago. We just fixed the I guess the motor on the plane or jet or whatever, just to give us another 48 hours. And tomorrow I might not even make it over the night. And it's very haunting. Like that's the first part I got choked up in, just hearing the emotion and the distress in Tony's voice.
I wouldn't say even the emotion. It's just the way how sick he looks because they skinny. Like he's super skinny. He's thin. Like you can. This is a man who's suffering alone in space for 20. They say it's been 22 days since the Thanos incident. So he's essentially done 22 days like surviving off of scraps with Nebula, who I assume doesn't really need to eat.
Yeah, because it's showing that he's about to share the last of his snacks. I think it was like beef jerky or something to Nebula, and she kind of brushes off, saying, "No, you eat. You need to eat." And then she places him in the captain's seat, and you
I
see
am the
this. I am the captain now. Speaking of captain, you see the this glowing light appear in front of Tony, and it's Captain Marvel. So
I thought it was,
what was that?
I thought it was Goku.
Yeah, me too, but wrong studio. But anyways, I guess they kind of skipped the post credit scene they showed in Captain Marvel, where that was more of a scene for Captain Marvel's movie, showing how she gets into Endgame. But it shows her taking Tony's ship back to Earth to Avengers headquarters, and then you see, Cap, who shaved his beard, which a lot of people were apparently none too pleased about. You see, Black Widow, War Machine, Banner, and then you see Pepper. And again, back to what you just said, I was almost very disturbed, like seeing how skinny and sickly Tony looked.
It was bad. I'm actually at first I was expecting Tony and Steve to hug it out as soon as they land back on Earth. But I love how the feud is still blinding them from actually reconciling their differences at the beginning.
Yeah, because you see Tony get in there, and again, going back to what we just said, continuity. They wanted to make. I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. legit lost a lot of weight just for that one scene.
I doubt it. They probably just CGI'd him skinny.
Yeah, I was gonna go there too, but he for a second, I'm like, did Downey really lose a lot of weight for that scene? And he's talking to Cap, and they're just going back and forth, and Tony obviously has, I guess, more PTSD from what happened in Infinity War, getting in Cap's face saying, I needed your help. You weren't there for me. You said you'd be there for me. You're a liar. And then he takes off his arc reactor and hands it to Cap, says, go fight him. And then he, faints, and, Pepper's looking out for him in his hospital bed. So, I guess to kind of branch forward, so, literally the first 15 minutes of the movie, because literally the first 15 minutes of the movie are the trailers that you've seen.
And I felt it was a smart move especially for what comes later.
Yeah, because if you watch the movie, it's just being built on, they're just going to kill Thanos, but how is that going to bring everyone back? What's the payoff by just killing Thanos? You're not going to bring everyone back, and then you find out why much, much later in this podcast. But moving on, Thor, pretty much everybody else who's back in the Avengers headquarters, they get in Rocket's ship because Rocket had apparently placed a tracking device in No, that's wrong. That's wrong, actually.
No,
Go ahead.
no. What happened was the same. So the way Rocket basically describes it is that Earth was ground zero since the snap occurred there, and that same energy that the stones projected, he's able to trace it to their next location, which was another planet he snapped on.
Yeah, pretty much. But anyways, they get to the planet Titan. Captain Marvel makes sure to check it out first, make sure there's no guards or anything. Pretty much making sure everything's on the up and up. And she's come back and says it's just Thanos. There's no guards, there's no security, there's no weapons, there's nothing. So they get there and you see Thanos and his farm, plucking some kind of weird looking fruit, whatever the fuck it is. And he gets back into his cabin. He's making dinner for himself, I guess. And then that's when Captain Marvel comes in. That's when everyone else comes in. And then Thor chops the Infinity Gauntlet off his hand while chopping off his hand at the same time. And they're all asking him, "What have you done with the stones?" And Thanos says, "After I did what I did, the stones are useless. So I used the stones to destroy the stones. Now they're nothing but atoms." Thor chops off Thanos' head. Rocket asks him, "Why'd you do that?" And Thor says, I went for the head."
That
And
that part happened, and the whole theater gasped. And when I went to go see it, I wasn't expecting it to be that brutal.
yeah, because like my reaction was like, well, that escalated rather quickly. Like like Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, that escalated really quickly.
That's exactly what I thought. I never thought Marvel would go, especially because this is literally the first 20 minutes of the movie, and they it's just that easy now. Like, but it was, yeah. I'm sorry. That was probably one of my favorite scenes from the movie.
Yeah, again, like I can watch it again and still be shocked because I'm like, man, Marvel has balls. Like that took balls to do. But it shows Thor walking pretty much out of the cabin, and it has a caption 5 years later. So now you know this movie is officially a time jump, pretty much. And it shows Cap like in one of those, I guess, Survivors Guild groups, and talking to different people. One of whom is actually one of the directors of the movie, one of the Russo brothers, and talking about moving on, A, B, C, and D.
Did you know the other guy is like? So there's a third guy, and did you know that guy's actually the guy who created Thanos in the comics?
That's what I heard about. What's his name? Is like Jim something. Jim Sterling.
Something like that. It's Stikeman. I know it starts with an S.
Hold on, I need to check that out. I think it's Jim Sterling, creator of Thanos. Creator of Thanos. Yeah, Jim Starlin and Mike Friedrich. Yeah. Anyways, it switches over to San Francisco, which is where Ant-Man was from, or so we thought. Inside, like I guess like a storage facility, it shows the van that Ant-Man and the Wasp and everyone else was, going to the quantum realm in. You just see like a random rat step over the controls.
It was
Turns
Master
on the
Splinter.
Splinter. There you go, the crossover we've been waiting for, and it opens the quantum realm, and out comes Ant-Man. You see that was it that Asian guy that used to have that show.
You're talking about isn't he that same guy from The Hangover, Ken Jeong?
Yeah, he was also on Community.
And then he had that ABC show that got canceled like a week later.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, he plays like the random security guard with the 70s porn mustache. And he sees Scott holding up a sign saying "Help me," and he lets him out. And then Scott takes his stuff, like his Ant-Man suit, walks out, and is going to like a random part in the city where it has the survivors, or not the survivors, but the fallen of the snap, and it has like literally all the names. And he's trying to look for his daughter. He doesn't see his daughter, but he sees his name. And he runs over to his house where his daughter would have been. And his daughter's, well, the movie's 5 years later, so I don't know how old his daughter would be. I would imagine she'd be like in her teens at this point. And it's a very emotional moment. Another moment where choked up. Him seeing his daughter, because I don't think I've ever seen Paul Rudd in an emotional role or like do a crying scene before. But he's hugging his daughter and saying, "You gotten so big," and it was a nice little scene. What you think about that scene overall?
Yeah, no, I did like. I think I got a little choked up as well because I really didn't know what to expect. Especially, I think I am grateful that. I don't know. For me, it almost felt like that would have been one of those scenes that they wouldn't have put in the movie, but I'm glad they did, just so that way they can show the impact of what the snap has done, especially so that way you can at least get a. I guess that's one thing that I kind of like about Endgame is that you also get the perspective of everybody else in the world, not just from the superheroes' perspective.
Yeah, because like literally, this the first, like we just said, the first like 10 minutes of the movie is a straight up superhero film, and then the next half ends up just being like a straight up drama. Like you get it from the perspective of not just the superheroes, but from the humans behind the masks. Hello?
No, I'm sorry. I had to put the phone down quickly.
Okay. But yeah, moving on, it shows Black Widow, who's probably the saddest person I've ever seen eat a sandwich before. And it's not even it's not even a PB and J. It's just peanut butter.
I mean, maybe Thanos wiped out half the grape population, and they ran out of grapes to make jelly.
That son of a bitch. He probably left pineapple jelly.
Maybe that fruit he was picking was what he wants instead of grapes now. He's like, no more grape jelly, just this weird pineapple looking berry.
That son of a bitch. But you see Black Widow talking to holograms of Rockets, Captain Marvel, who's sporting her short hair, Okoye, and War Machine, and they're just talking about what's going on in the world. Interesting fact, and somebody actually pointed this out, that this supposedly happened, that when they're asking Okoye, what she was doing, she mentioned how there was an earthquake under the sea outside of Africa, and somebody apparently mentioned that she might have been talking about Namor.
I actually just read that as well, and I don't think it was made to reference Namor, but I feel like this will be one of those things years from now when they actually do make a movie. They'll say, "Oh yeah, we meant this all along," kind of like what they did with Spider-Man for Iron Man 2.
Which I still don't buy that. But
I don't either. They just shoehorn that in because they are like, you know what, we have them now, so buy our tickets and shut up. This is what we're doing now.
So, but yeah, she apparently was talking about Namor, and then War Machine saying, "We just found a group of cartel guys. They look like they didn't even get any shots off, and they're all dead." And Clint's behind this, and then you see, again, Black Widow crying into her sandwich. You see, Steve come in and give his advice.
She wipes the tears with the sandwich,
and then she just continues to eat it. But and you see Steve come in, and then he gives the line from the trailer, "I keep telling everyone to move on, but not us." And then, again, another scene from the trailer. From the first trailer, you see Scott pop up on the radar saying, "Hello, I'm out here. Can you let me in?" And, he tells them everything that's going on. He's talking about Quantum Realm. He, says that, without Hope, he's not really the right person to talk about the Quantum Realm. He kind of doesn't know too much about it. He just knows how to get in it. He doesn't really know the basics of it, the physics of it. So
all the quantum talk that they went into in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, because unfortunately, Hope and Hank and the mom are all gone.
Janet.
So, which sucks. I mean, I would have. Here's the thing, like, I get why you had to take out certain people, but there's people that I think you should have kept along for the ride. You know what I mean? Like, they got rid of Black Panther, which was the one thing I didn't really buy. I was like, that dude just made you like a dick ton of money. He just got nominated for Best Picture, so I didn't buy that.
I like about Spider-Man when Sony was like, "We give you the rights, and you kill him in 3 movies."
Yeah, that was kind of messed up. But I mean, I guess you kind of needed him to die just to have that emotional factor to not make Tony seem like such a dick, because he truly did care about Peter. Peter meant a lot to him.
I do wonder sometimes how they selected who to kill and who to keep alive.
Yeah, because they kept around the original 6, and they kept Rocket and Nebula and Okoye. But I mean, I guess you couldn't keep Doctor Strange because he would have found a way to defeat Thanos with ease.
Gotta keep Rocket for that Build-A-Bear merchandise.
Yeah, there you go. And then Panther was smart. He would have found ways to bring down Thanos. I don't know why they had to kill Spider-Man, but I guess the emotional factor, they had to kill him. And then we'll talk about Scarlet Witch in a bit, because she did something in the movie that I thought was pretty awesome. But Scott asked, is there anyone who might know some more information about, quantum physics or whatever. And then they go to Tony's house. Tony is in a house by the lake. He has a daughter now named Morgan. And, they show up and they ask him, what do you know about quantum physics? And he's saying, well, A, B, C, and D. And he's pretty much shooting it down like, oh, you know why no one ever goes into the quantum realm? Because it doesn't fucking work. It's laughable. It's, time travel doesn't work. And, they're trying to convince him by saying, I already have my second chance. I'm good. So then he goes inside. Unbeknownst to them, he, I guess, started an experiment to kind of prove if, the quantum realm, going back in time is possible. It's possible. And, he's talking to Pepper, and she's telling him, could you honestly go to sleep tonight knowing that you had a second chance to bring everybody back? So, to kind of backtrack, they end up going to Bruce Banner, who has now fused with the Hulk. So now he's the Hulk physically, but he still has the mind of Banner. You pretty much see Mark Ruffalo's face on Banner, like it's visible. And what you think about the scenes I was just talking about overall?
I love that diner scene. I never thought I would see a movie where the Hulk would dab.
That was just cringeworthy.
It was cringeworthy, but I think it was. It's funny that it's one of those moments that's meant to be cringeworthy. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I think if he started doing the floss dance, I would have lost it.
I'd laugh my ass off, to be honest.
I think I would just been like, I'm done. Fuck the Hulk. But
you know what I noticed? You know what I noticed too is that he eats a lot now. Like, there's a lot of scenes of him eating.
Because I noticed that he had that big bowl of scrambled eggs. I'm like, who needs that much scrambled eggs? And then later on the scene when he's making, tacos for Scott, which again, that was random. But yeah,
adorable.
He kind of barely knows about quantum physics, and this is where Tony comes in, and they're testing out ways to send him back in time. And he comes back and he's a young kid. He comes back again, he's an old man. He comes back again, he's a baby. And then they bring him back as Scott, as as a present Scott. Tony shows up. He agrees to help out, but he has a better, more suitable option. With the I guess the wrist thingies that you saw in the behind the scenes footage. Mm-hmm. And he gives Steve his shield back. And what else happens? Yeah, everybody else comes back, and then Hulk and Rocket drive to not drive, but they fly to I think Norway, I believe, because that's where Odin died. So I think they moved everyone to Norway for the new Asgard. And then they find Thor, and he's a fat slob. What do you think about that scene?
Oh my god! When I saw that gut, I busted out laughing because it's funny, but at the same time, it's sad because like he reduced himself to this because it's like he knows that he failed and there's nothing he can do to change that. So he might as well, live out his life in isolation because he might feel he has no purpose or he has no use now. But I will say, I think one of Irving's best moments, I wish he was here to share this, but one of Irving's like best moments was during the scene when he screamed in the theater when he saw Meek and Korg again. The best characters that Marvel has made up as of 2017.
Hey, me.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Korg. And then it's funny too because I play Fortnite, and I saw the crossover that they're doing, and it makes sense now why they did this crossover because you go in there and you see Korg playing Fortnite, and he's telling Thor like, hey, that guy's back, and then Thor just like goes off on this probably 11-year-old kid.
That was just funny, and then he's hugging Rocket, but it's like his belly is like rubbing his face. He's like, "No, get off me, get off me!" And Rocket tells him, "You look like melted ice cream."
It's just bad though. His beard's all disgusting. He's an alcoholic. He uses Stormbreaker as a bottle opener. Like he's a mess.
There's one thing I don't get. I would think for a god, you'd have a higher metabolism, but I guess he doesn't.
Maybe. Oh, Irving's here.
Oh, sweet.
Hey, perfect timing. Nothing much. Ladies and gentlemen, the other half of Architect has just arrived.
Are
Yeah.
we right now?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm late.
Yeah, you are.
Well, during this interview, I'm going to be eating.
Yeah, I already warned them.
Okay, so
So what we're doing right now is we're just discussing we're discussing the scenes as they occurred in
America's butt.
in Endgame, and we actually got we actually got to your favorite moment in the movie when Meek and Korg show up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I literally screamed.
Yeah, I told him that.
Welcome to the show, Irving. By the way, nice to have you on.
Welcome, Drew. What's up? I'm sorry there's a lot of bag movement.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
You better not get Chipotle on my bed, you son of a bitch.
I'll try.
Is it pronounced Irving or Irving with a G?
That part I don't really care about as long as nobody calls me Herb.
Well, I mean, I don't want to offend you. I don't want you to be like, it's Irvin. Are you stupid or deaf?
Oh, no, he's asking if it's an E or a G at the end. It's a G.
It's a G. There's a G at the end, but usually most people don't pronounce it.
Okay. Just making sure. I don't want to offend.
So as long as it's not Irv or Irvine or Irving
Or Rudy.
or Rudy. No. Screw Chipotle.
I'll just call you whatever the hell you want me to call you.
Daddy?
What was that?
It's like you know that Vine where that dude comes out and he's like, "Daddy, chill."
Anyways, where we're at, Irving, like Derek just said, was
Let's talk about Hobo Thor.
Oh,
Fake Thor.
when Thor's a fat slob. But also not just that scene, everything leading up to that scene. What were your overall view, your overall thoughts of everything that was leading up to that scene, including that scene itself?
like when they're walking into New Asgard?
Well, yeah, that, and also before that, the beginning of the movie with Hawkeye and his family when they kill Thanos and Ant-Man coming back.
That first scene, it got me.
You gotta-
Like, as soon as you see the scene open up for the movie and you realize, oh, this is Hawkeye's ranch, and you realize, oh, this is a decimation right there.
You got to add in Alyssa's reaction too.
No, my reaction was first before she didn't realize what was going on first.
Oh,
I said like, oh no, they're not going to do this. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I told her, this is Hawkeye's house. And she was like, no, don't do it. And so I was expecting it already. I mean, people had already made fan art of that scene happening before the movie even came out, and it was pretty accurate to it. But that scene it's really heartbreaking, and it really sets the tone for like what's going to happen at the end of the movie. What happens after that? To me, like most of it is just a lot of setup. So it's interesting to see the characters. That scene of them going to Thanos' garden planet. That's crazy. I mean, I said this isn't a PG-13 movie. This is a rated R movie at this point. They literally showed an execution of an old man.
Pretty much, like it was pretty much like a hard like a PG-13 almost. Like I think if they would have added R, then you would have definitely seen a lot more blood. I mean, if you make it rated R, you don't necessarily have to add like cussing or boobs in it. Just like I don't know, give that kind of violence that is rated R quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. After that, let's see. It's a lot of just build up. I thought it was pretty good, especially seeing how Tony reacts to. I honestly didn't think he was going to react to like how he did as soon as he touched down on Earth and blaming Captain America almost immediately. Because I was like, okay, don't put the blame on him right now, because let's not forget you were the one being hesitant to call him at the beginning of Infinity War. And the only reason I remember that vividly right now is because I watched Infinity War yesterday morning.
Mm.
So as soon as he was arguing with him, like, no, you said we would, if we lose together. And I was like, y'all did lose together, but y'all were on separate planets. But let's not forget that you were also the prick that didn't want to call him when Banner said, let's call him.
Well, I also think it's because Tony was kind of stuck in the moment, because he had just, not just him, but everybody else, but, he had just went through a big ordeal because when he touched down Earth, he was telling, Cap, I lost the kid. And, that's what really got him. And it's kind of a callback to Age of Ultron where, Scarlet Witch, gives him that vision of seeing everybody dead, and he tells Nick Fury, I had this vision, all my friends are dead. And he says... Yeah. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that you weren't dead. So again, that's also another thing I point out was like, well, technically you were about to call him, but you didn't. But again, it's one of those things where like, and we've all had those moments where we've been like so mad that we kind of forget small facts, that we kind of overlook our own mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But let's see what happens after that.
After that, we went up.
We see the last time we see Captain Marvel until the end. All the hype around her, and boom,
all that for a short haircut and a new costume. We did that. We talked about the time jump. We talked about Professor Hulk, about Hawkeye's rampage around the world.
I swear, if this movie was rated R, those scenes would have been longer.
Oh yeah, and then the memorial for the victims and Ant-Man finally escaping the quantum realm. What's so funny?
I was talking about it at work, and somebody was mentioning, how is it that garbage men were all exterminated during the snap, but construction workers weren't? So they had time to build memorials, but nobody had time to pick up trash in the suburbs.
You're not wrong, man.
And thinking back at it now, I was like, wow, Thanos killed all the garbage guys. I was like, man, it's not the best job in the world. It's a well-paying job. But goddamn, did he choose somebody to really stick it to people?
I was also thinking, I would have thought the world would have become a fallout as well, because think of all the people that are working nuclear plants during this time.
That's true. And maybe it was in certain areas, like pretty much Russia, gone. Japan, gone. Middle of the United States, gone.
It would have been funny if they snapped and you see everybody but Trump disappear. And then he's like, am I not good enough to be disappearing? I could disappear, the best out of everyone of all time.
My dust will be the greatest dust.
My dust will be gold.
It will be great.
I will make a glorious infinity gauntlet.
Like, I'll make it with my hair so that way it matches.
I think
no
Thanos,
collusion.
who is collusion. Exactly an alien outside of the U.S.
I did not collude with Thanos. Your family was not my fault.
What would be funny is if Trump actually thought Thanos was an actual thing.
We probably do have an anti-Thanos defense system ready to go, though.
That's what Space Force is for.
We need to stop Thanos. He's up to no good. President Trump, Thanos is a character from a comic book. Where is he?
I mean, well, all right, we're getting off track. No more. God, fucking politics. Okay, so I guess going back, so Rocket manages to convince Thor to be on, basically to get on board the ship.
After we see that apparently, let's sidetrack for just one more split second.
I forgot to mention, Drew, that we see Valkyrie return as well.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, give me 1 second. Keep talking.
Sorry.
I was thinking about this. How is it's 5 years after 2018, right?
Right.
It's 2023. How the fuck is it that Fortnite's still the most popular game in the world?
Because crossover. They're doing a Fortnite crossover event right now.
I know, but here's the thing. Yes, Fortnite's popular. Yes, Fortnite's a pretty good game. This is 5 years later, and they're still playing on an Xbox One. I understand that no new video game consoles were created at this point, And I understand that the internet's running way faster since there's less people to be using the bandwidth. But Fortnite should not be the most popular game in the world at that point.
It's advertising, all right? It's brand advertisement, dude.
Couldn't they make a brand new game for that?
You know,
Call it Fortnite Avengers?
you know, when you got to think about it too. If Fortnite exists in the world of Avengers, does that mean that the Thanos mode from last year also exists in the game?
It probably does, because remember, everybody in the fucking world knew about Thanos for some reason.
No,
Like, when did the Avengers have time to have a press conference? After they slaughtered him.
Well, I'm assuming at least the world leaders, like they discuss what happened with them.
Yeah, possibly.
Um,
Yeah, because I thought it was weird. Cap is like openly talking about Thanos and his, survivors guilt group, and yeah, I don't know. That's one thing they never divulged in the movie. They never talked about how everyone knew about Thanos, or I don't know. Maybe Ross or somebody from the World Council had said, Thanos is responsible for everything that's happening. I don't know. I wish they would have talked about that more, but it's a 3-hour movie, so I guess they had to cut out some things.
threw it in the 5-year gap.
Press conference point.
So they get a fat slob Thor to join them on the plane. And then you see Nat, or Black Widow, fly to Japan. And she finds Hawkeye, who's slaughtering, Yakuza members. And convinces them to, do this with them. And he's saying, don't give me false hope. And she's able to, get through to him and takes him back to the compound, where you see Ant-Man, I guess, doing test runs, and I guess he's a little hesitant about doing it. And then you see Hawkeye saying, "I'm game. I'm hardcore. I'll do whatever the hell you want me to do."
Probably because he just turned to every age he's ever been at the same time.
Pretty much. And then you see Hawkeye with his random sleeve tattoo, which I guess is something he had to get.
Yeah, but that sleeve was badass, though.
At least we know there's still tattoo artists in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still good-hearted tattoo artists.
The scene that follows, though, when he makes that first jump through the quantum realm, like, my mind was blown. Like, my jaw dropped just at how amazing it looked for him to travel through that. Like, I don't know, it's as weird as everything's been in the MCU. I never thought I'd see time travel happen.
Oh yeah, time travel was not something I expected during Avengers 1, but I'm happy I saw it because it made the better sense of time travel in some movies. Even though there are some plot holes that I think I've resolved myself with my own.
They followed the Dragon Ball rules of time travel.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I equate it to is that we didn't expect time travel since Iron Man 1. It's kind of like and I don't watch it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but Game of Thrones, like the first season, there weren't really much CGI effects, and then I guess after the success of the first season, when you got to see more CGI stuff like dragons and White Walkers, same thing with the MCU. In Iron Man 1, yeah, there was CGI with the helm, with the suit and everything, but they were dealing more with, I guess, more Earth-based problems. And then when you incorporated, characters like Thor, and then when you had the Avengers in, that's when you started bringing in, outer space, alien problems, and then, boom, Marvel makes over $1 billion with, movies like Black Panther and Infinity War, and now they say, okay, we'll make this a time travel movie.
That's true,
but it works, and it makes me happy at times that they didn't call this movie Infinity War Part 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I just think that would have been lazy. It's kind of like
it would have been lazy, but at the same time it makes sense because now you see, like, this is not Infinity War Part 2.
This is not, but if you put them together with no credits and you just have the end, you place the end credit scenes where they're supposed to be chronologically from the beginning of Infinity War to the end of Endgame. It's one cohesive movie.
It really is.
It's one long cohesive movie that you can watch for 5 hours. It's gonna suck. but
I mean, that's
You can watch it.
that's what one Lord of the Rings movie.
I would
One direct.
personally like, love if someone actually did that. They took, Infinity War. They took the post-credit scene. They also took the post-credit scene from Captain Marvel, and then fused it with Endgame and just make it one big movie.
I feel like it'll happen at some point.
It should be the director's cut.
Yeah, or it'll come out in the special edition box set that I'll probably end up buying.
They better do that. But where the hell were we at? Oh yeah, Hawkeye goes into the quantum realm. He goes back, I guess, into the past, into his farm, where his family's still alive, and it's just a test run. So he only has I guess 15 seconds, 10 seconds, and as soon as he hears his daughter's voice, he tries to go inside and talk to her, and then he's rushed back to present day time, and they're all discussing I guess where the Infinity Stones are, where they've been. Thor tries to talk about the ether, which is the reality stone, but it's a very cringeworthy scene where you just see Cap and everybody else looking at him like, "What the fuck?"
It was. So it got sucked into Jane, who I used to date. And so yeah, we used.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
It's a terrible scene, and I think, and this it just I think him explaining it, it just reminded me of how much I don't like Thor: The Dark World.
Really?
We've had.
I didn't know we've had this discussion that you don't like it. I thought it was fine.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just that it's not appeasing to me. Like the Incredible Hulk is more appeasing to me.
Yeah,
No,
I'm the opposite. But yeah, they're basically talking about where they've been in the past, and then Black Widow's telling Tony and Hulk, if you go to the right year, there's 3 Infinity Stones in New York, which was it the Mind, the Space Stone, and the Time Stone, which is at Doctor Strange's place.
Oh yeah.
And then the Power Stone's on the planet where Star-Lord went to in the beginning of Guardians.
And then the Soul Stone would still be on Volmir,
which we'll talk about that much later on.
Yeah.
But
there's one more stone. Oh yeah, the ether being in its own time.
So basically, they all split off into groups, which I think are groups of 3. Go ahead.
It was at least groups that there was teams of 2, but it was like an odd number. Like you have
There were 3 teams. 2 were made up of 2. The one that had to retrieve 3 stones was a team.
Was the team of the 3.
Yeah, for New York back in 2012.
It was a team of 4.
It's Cap, Tony, Ant-Man, and Hulk. They all go back to 2012 to get the 3 stones.
Yeah.
And then you have Widow and Hawkeye going back to Vormir to get the Soul Stone, and then you have War Machine and Nebula back in 2014 to get the Power Stone.
Man.
So they all pretty much go back into different moments in the MCU to retrieve the stones. And you go to first in New York. Hulk goes to the Sanctum, where Doctor Strange will live later on, and he sees Tilda Swinton's character from the first Doctor Strange movie while she's protecting the Sanctum and battling against the aliens, Thanos' aliens, and he tells her, "I need that stone." Or no, at first he says, "Where's Doctor Strange?" And she says, "I'm afraid you're about 5 years too early." He's performing, surgery about 20 blocks away as we speak, and he needs a Soul Stone. She says, "I'm afraid I can't give you that." And then she, I guess does the Soul Punch, where she punches his soul of his body, but in this case ends up being the soul of Bruce Banner out of the Hulk's body.
Pretty much.
I love the
No.
I love how the quantum realm suits adapt to the environment.
Oh yeah.
And change based off of based around them. So like how they get their costumes from 2012, except Tony, who's disguised as a SHIELD agent, and then everybody else's is just their regular costumes.
My favorite thing from that scene, especially when Bruce is talking to Tilda Swinton, is that it finally confirms when she says, only the Sorcerer Supreme may hold the Time Stone. Pretty much finally confirming that Doctor Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme, because we haven't gotten a confirmation about that up until then. Which we should have just known, but I mean, what is knowing until we get confirmation?
I also told Irving, and finally confirmed what year Doctor Strange is in, because for the longest time we were stuck on what year the movie takes place in.
It supposedly takes place between like before and after Civil War, and then during Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, it makes sense with that time frame. But we're trying to find out I guess our main thing was trying to figure out when the beginning of Doctor Strange takes place, when he gets into the car accident.
I'm guessing that's late 2016, because even in the movie it says 2016 at one point. But I'm guessing by the end of the movie it is 2017, and then Thor Ragnarok, when they find the Hulk, it's 2017,
somewhere around that. But I just love the conversation that they're having about the Infinity Stones, and how they're talking about how they can't just take the stones, because if they remove even one stone from their time, it could cause the universe to collapse because of the imbalance, and it could also disrupt even if it corrects their timeline. Like, they're aware that it's like the timeline that they're currently in is going to face repercussions because of the actions that are taking place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Banner pretty much convinces her everything will pretty much even itself out. Nothing will mess up your timeline. But you see the team up for the first time of Ant-Man and Stark, who you just mentioned. Stark, disguises himself as a SHIELD agent. He flies over to, I guess, was it the former Avengers Stark Tower at the end of the first Avengers, where they're all, they all have Loki surrounded, and he says, can I have that drink now?
And then they're looking at America's ass.
That was just funny how Ant-Man is just a Captain America fanboy in this movie.
I just love
he's as big of a fanboy as Phil Coulson is in that movie.
He's just on that. He's just on the shoulder, and he's just on the shoulder like that is America's ass. I forget. Like, what did Tony say exactly? He was like,
now I remember that suit did not compliment your butt at all. He goes, "Oh, dude, don't listen to him, Captain Steve. Don't worry about it. That is America's ass."
And then he just bends over and says, "Flick me," and then he ends up being flicked into the suitcase where the Tesseract's at. And then you see, I guess, more cameos. You see what's his name, Crossbones from Winter Soldier, with the task force that we don't know is Hydra yet, but Tony knows it's Hydra. And they go downstairs, and Hulk can't get on the elevator because he's too big, so he has to take the stairs, and he's pissed off about it.
I love that. No stairs.
No more stairs.
There's too many stairs.
When he finally has the realization, there are too many stairs, and you just see down and you're like, oh, he's only on floor 80. I was like, why don't you just jump, dumbass?
I felt bad for Hulk, because they all told him like, no, you can't get on.
Poor Hulk.
He would calm down and be Bruce Banner, and he could have gone on,
right?
Moving on, you see Cap. He gets on the elevator with the Hydra agents that we don't know is Hydra yet, but or they haven't announced they're Hydra yet.
Wait, let's talk about how Bruce got to 2012 and was like, "Oh, I have to take off my shirt. Smash. This is degrading."
Oh god. What happens after that?
Cap.
When
I
when
was
when
gonna
they're in
say,
the elevator, I was expecting the same scene from the Winter Soldier to happen.
Me
no,
too.
I was gonna say that, and then like he kind of plays along, and then he whispers "Hail Hydra," and then he walks away with Loki's staff, and then he
Oh,
sees himself from 2012.
God.
what I love though is how, yes, that's in reference to the Winter Soldier, but I love how they just added that reference from Secret Empire, where he played along with it. Of course, everybody knew he played along with it, but we all know that in the comics, there's an entire arc about Captain America becoming a Hydra agent. So I don't know. That's just the Captain America fanboy in me saying like, yeah, let's do this.
I was surprised they added in. Like I had a feeling they were gonna add in, I guess, like because supposedly before we saw the movie, they kept saying it's there was rumors there was gonna be a time travel movie. So if that was the case, then that means they were gonna run into their past selves and I guess bring in newer information. The whole Cap versus Cap fight I thought was funny, especially when old Cap is telling future Cap, I can do this all day, and then Cap goes, yeah, no. And
Yeah.
I thought it would have been funny if he went, damn, do I sound that annoying? So he fights him. Old Cap has him in a headlock, and he says Bucky's alive, and then he punches him in the face and uses the staff on him to bring him down. And then he looks at his old ass and goes, that is America's ass. So
And did anybody yell out America during their scene?
I don't remember hearing anybody.
I remember people cheering. I laughed.
America, fuck yeah.
somebody make a tribute video of Cap with that song.
So somebody probably already did.
No, but now they got to add it in his ass.
That's true.
Okay.
America, fuck yeah. So let's see. After that, they finally make it to the ground floor, and old Tony tells Ant-Man to give the old Tony basically give him a slight cardiac arrest.
Give me a mild cardiac arrest. That doesn't sound mild. But don't worry about it. I will be fine.
And then you see Robert Redford's character from Winter Soldier, which I thought was very interesting. And they're trying to take the case away, and you see Loki, and Ant-Man's able to I guess slide the briefcase of the Tesseract over to Tony. Tony's about to go, I guess, was he going to go back upstairs or to a different floor?
He was, I think he was. He was trying to leave the building because remember the briefcase slid to him, and right when he's walking out, that's when Hulk finally makes it to the bottom of the stairs.
Hulk no like stairs,
and he's like no stairs. And then that's when the briefcase slides to Loki, and he manages to take the Tesseract and escape with it.
And that, kids, is how Perfect Cell destroyed Android 17 and 18.
I wish I didn't ask you guys about that. What do you think about that scene? Because they didn't really. I mean, I didn't expect them to explain it, but you see Loki. He took the Space Stone during that time period, and then he, goes back to space or wherever. Do you think that's a way they can set up his Disney Plus series that he has on the app that's coming out this fall?
That was my guess. That's the timeline we're gonna see for the Loki show.
See, I think we can see something like that, but I've also heard that in the Loki series, it's going to be a younger Loki, so they're going to cast a different actor, and that that Tom Hiddleston would be in it, just not majorly. He would just essentially kind of be narrating and talking about his life.
That's
I don't know. I heard different. I heard he's going to be in it, and it's going to be about Loki, I guess, placing himself during different parts in history and kind of like, fucking with history, almost like a Hot Tub Time Machine, but with Loki.
I'm not sure. I guess as we get more details, we'll kind of learn about it. But I think before they even announce what's going to happen in any of the Disney Plus series, they want Endgame to run its course.
Yeah, and I guess when we get to the ending, we can talk more into like how these timelines are going to be, because let's face the facts, this shit got crazy. and this might probably be the biggest hiccup for Endgame for some people. I think I've figured it out, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, tell,
I guess we'll
well, tell,
I guess we'll
tell
talk.
us.
Huh?
I was gonna say, tell us what the what you think the hiccup is.
Well, you got the hiccups of what happened to the Captain Americas that modern Steve used the scepter on. What happened to Loki? And then what about the brief? Tony moved a briefcase that wasn't supposed to be moved. Um, Steve went into areas that he wasn't supposed to be in during this while they were going back into the 70s. And that's just my part. That's where I'm just thinking. But when we get to the parts about Captain America and later, I'll explain how I think they fixed it.
All right, and moving on. Tony, what's it called? Bruce is able to get his stone that he was going after, but Tony and Steve pretty much say, "Hey, we messed up. We didn't get the Tesseract," but they figure out a way to, I guess, get it again. They use the last Pym particle to go back to the 70s to a, I guess, an army shield base that was seen the first, not first, but the Winter Soldier when they
No, it was the one from Captain America: The First Avenger.
Well, I was also thinking of Winter Soldier when they went into that secret Shield, base when they found out that Shield had been secretly Hydra the whole time.
Yeah.
But they go back there to the 70s, and you see Yvette Nicole Brown, another Community alum, who was, I guess, like a secretary or something.
Yeah.
And you see Cap, I guess, look for more Pym particles, and then he gets on the phone and calls a younger CGI'd version of Michael Douglas, who's Hank Pym, and is able to get him out of the lab, and he takes, I think, 4 Pym particles.
That hairstyle, that was beautiful.
That hair. And then you see Tony go down below and find the Tesseract, put in his briefcase, and then there's a nice little moment with him and his dad. His dad obviously doesn't know who he is, because the year is 1970, and they revealed in that scene that that's the year that Tony was actually born, and that was actually the day his mom was going to labor with him. And it's a really nice scene. It's a very touching scene because Tony finally got to, interact with his dad. He never really had that chance when he was younger, but as an adult, granted, his dad didn't know who he was, but he was able to interact with him and talk to him and see him as a person, not see him as, Howard Stark, the billionaire, the owner, the blah, blah, blah. No, he saw him as a human being. So I thought it was a very nice scene. He was able to hug him, and his, Howard was like, okay, that's random. And then
I think the 70s scene was also good too because this is also Stan Lee's final cameo as well.
Yeah, it was very quick though. It's just him in a car going, "Hey man, make peace, make love, not war," or something like that. And then you have a scene with Steve where he ends up going into an office that he doesn't know is Peggy Carter's office, and he sees her through a glass window. Which my first thought was that window was it like a two-way mirror? Because he's literally looking right at her, and she does not even see him. So I don't know if she was pretending not to see him, or if it was really a two-way mirror.
No, I think it was she was just so busy and looking at the paperwork. She didn't look up because, of course, most people aren't going to look up expecting to see something on the other side of the window unless somebody taps or they're expecting somebody. And so the way I thought about it was she's in the moment of looking at paperwork, because if you see on the door, it says she's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I was like, wow, she made it all the way up to director.
Oh, that's crazy. Go ahead.
I thought, of course, everybody knows that Peggy Carter is capable enough to be director of S.H.I.E.L.D. right away as it was founded. But let's be honest, in 1970s America, would that really have happened, especially with the way things were back then?
For women.
Well, I also think it's because it's S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is technically a secret organization. They're they go to the way not to be known, so
Yeah.
they do things a lot differently when they're in the organization. But it was a nice little scene for both two characters. I like Tony's better, but they're able to get their particles and go back into their time. We go into the War Machine and Nebula part where they go back to the planet. What is it? Was it called Morag or Borg?
Morag.
More.
Where it's basically the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, and Nebula tells War Machine.
I laughed my ass off to finally see from the other side what it looks like when he's singing and dancing. Like I never thought of seeing seeing it from what it's like when you don't hear the music, and now I know.
Yeah, because they're having that really cool entrance, and then you just hear him singing. War Machine's like, so he's an idiot. And yeah, like a little backtracking. Nebula tells War Machine, in 2014, Star-Lord wasn't the only one looking after the Power Stone, and War Machine's like, what do you mean by that? My father, my sister Gamora, and me. I was obviously, I was different at the time, and then it shows, past Nebula fighting with past Gamora, and then you see, Thanos coming in, saying, I found the Soul Stone. Somehow Nebula, I guess her memory banks is able to, I guess, sync to future Gamora's memory banks, and it shows her, it ends up showing Thanos, like, literally everything that happened in Infinity War, and what's going on now.
Was that pretty much Nebula works off a cloud storage system that's probably located somewhere else. And so whenever future Nebula dropped into that timeline, her system had to be connected to that system. And so the data being transferred back and forth, it's not going to distinguish between both the Nebulas because they both have the same ID code. But the only thing that's going to be different is the timestamps.
Okay.
That's how I understood it. I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's convoluted, but it makes sense.
I mean, yeah, it's a way to get, I guess, Thanos back into the movie because they already killed him off. So now, how do you get him back into the movie? How are you able to have that big ass sequence at the end of the movie? We'll talk about that once we get to it. But I guess it made sense. Like you just said, it was very convoluted, but it made sense. But you see War Machine just punch Star-Lord right in the face, and then they. I thought that was funny how he's just singing, and you see War Machine with just one fist.
This whole movie is just people. It's just them going back in time to punching the past selves of each other.
Yeah, because like Star-Lord and Ant-Man got no love in this movie from anybody.
Oh yeah. Well, Ant-Man got love. He got an entire sequence of him rummaging around through the suburbs. Yeah, that's more than Star-Lord.
Those kids didn't want to take a picture with him, and Nebula and War Machine were kind of treating him like shit. Like Nebula even said, "War Machine, be careful, there's an idiot at the entrance."
I kind of understood why those kids didn't want to take a picture with Ant-Man though, because he's not at least in that universe he's not as established because since he's not really part of the Avengers, and like really his only stand-up moments are when he grows giant, and plus since he'd been missing for 5 years, most of the kids probably wouldn't even know who Ant-Man was or remember him since.
Oh yeah, those kids would only be like one or two, maybe 3 or 4 whenever the battle at what airport was it? At the German airport.
Yeah.
They'd only be like 3 or 4 years old, so most of them wouldn't even know exactly what had happened. Most of those kids, probably their first memory was the decimation and becoming orphans.
Damn, you got dark.
Well, it's the sad truth of that.
You brought the mood of this podcast down.
Well, do you want a funny one or do you want a realistic one?
Both.
What would be the funny one?
Hey, your parents dead, but your puppy's still alive.
No, it would be like, party, motherfuckers. It would be like, give me those tetas, give me the juice pouches, Give me the candy that I can't eat.
I'm about to suck this Capri Sun so hard.
Okay,
wanna
moving on to the next scene.
No.
War Machine and go ahead.
Nothing. Go on.
Go on.
I was gonna anyways, War Machine and Nebula get the Power Stone. They're counting down to go back to their own time, and then Nebula again. I guess what Irving just said. Their memory banks are synced up to a cloud, and she sees old Thanos, old Thanos talking to old Gamora. Not Gamora. Oh yeah, Gamora and Nebula. And she goes, "Oh shit! They know I'm here. They know we're here." And she tries to go back to the ship to call Hawkeye and Nat. Doesn't work, and then Thanos sucks her onto the ship. And then I forgot what happened on that ship. Oh yeah, you see Gamora, and again at that time she was very hesitant. She was always hesitant about leaving. She didn't want to be around Thanos, and old Nebula is beating up, future Nebula and beating the shit out of her because she just wants Thanos' approval and love. And Nebula's telling Gamora, get out of here. You want to. Did you see what happens? To everybody else. Did you see what happens to you? And then Nebula just, I guess, knocks her out and then takes like that red part on her head and then puts it on her, and then takes the time device.
It does confuse me around this part. However, I wonder when Gamora makes that deal with the Collector, because this is supposed to be around the same time frame.
It had to have been at the moment. Well, that's true. She had to have made that deal. Like, instead of going to Morag, she had to have gone to nowhere, right?
She had to have gone at least sometime beforehand.
Or maybe that's what she was going to do before they ended up doing that trip to Morag to go pick up the modern Nebula. I guess it just depends.
So what happened after that? Oh yeah, Thor and Rocket went back to Thor: The Dark World to retrieve the ether, and we see the return of Natalie Portman for like 5 seconds.
Let's all be honest with this. That was a pee break, right?
That had the only thing I liked out of this heist was the reunion Thor had with his mother the day that she dies.
Oh man, that was so sad.
Yeah, and he's trying to tell her, "Mom, you need to listen. There's something that's gonna happen," and she's going, "I don't need to know. You don't need to tell me. It needs to happen."
My favorite line from that whole scene is like, "Take care of yourself and eat a salad."
Eat a salad, or when he gets to the hammer, I am worthy.
Yeah, when he steals Mjolnir from that timeline.
It's like, damn, dude, you look like you ate Thor yourself twice, and you're still worthy.
Man,
you look like you're worthy of a salad.
I wonder how much they paid Natalie Portman for that 5 seconds she was in the movie.
More than she ever made making Thor 1.
Or Star Wars.
Or Star Wars. Well, she was only like what in her She was only like what 16 when she made Star Wars 1.
Oh, I'm not sure.
She definitely got paid way more for these 5 seconds than for any sci-fi movie she's ever done before.
Probably.
Anyway, we can just skip this whole because like I agree. This whole scene was kind of not my favorite scene.
It was mostly dragged out.
Yeah, long story short, I mean, just Rocket pricks Jane to get the ether out. And then,
hey, Derek.
I like when
he pricks Jane.
I'm sorry, he sticks something inside of her to extract some fluid.
Oh.
That's not making works, Derek.
I do like how the guards are chasing Rocket, and they're like, "Get that rabbit!"
So basically, as Guardians or anyone that doesn't live on Earth has never seen a raccoon before, I'm guessing.
No, what I love is how everybody's like trying to justify that he is not a raccoon, because what is
Tony calls him a Build-A-Bear.
Tony calls him a Build-A-Bear. The Asgardians call him a rabbit, and I think Hawkeye says, "Well, he's not really a raccoon," and I'm just like, where is he going with it? And then Black Widow just cuts him off right there. And I'm like, I want to know what he was thinking
Let's not forget that Star-Lord called him a trash panda in Guardians 2.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can go into the last, I guess, time sequence scene. Hawkeye, Black Widow go to Voimir to get the Soul Stone, and they get up to the where you retrieve it. They see Red Skull, and he tells them, "When you retrieve the Soul Stone, you must lose that which you love." To which you already knew somebody was going to die, and
they
go ahead.
had to have filmed on purpose because I mean, think about it. Can you imagine if you sent because of course they send the two characters who have the most chemistry. Can you imagine if they sent like two random people, like you send like Rocket and Ant-Man together?
No, my thing is, how much do you want to bet there's an entirely alternate version of the movie where it's Hawkeye that dies?
I'm willing to bet money on that.
That they filmed from this point of the movie onwards, they filmed two completely different movies. One where Hawkeye dies and one where Black Widow dies. And we got to see the Black Widow version. What if, Derek?
See,
the Chinese are watching the Hawkeye version.
Initially, I thought neither one of them was going to sacrifice themselves. And I thought this was going to be a comedic scene where they just push Red Skull and they get the Soul Stone.
That would have been funny. So what's Red Skull going to be doing from now on? Just chilling there?
Essentially.
Because that's all he did. I love how at first they have like this very intense moment and you'd think that the next thing you're going to see is one of them walking out with the Soul Stone. But instead, the very next scene you see is them sitting down, contemplating who's going to go. And the Red Skull's just standing there like, it's just make a choice. I want to go home. Game of Thrones is on in 40 minutes, and I got to catch the Red Wedding. It was 2014. The Red Wedding was barely about to happen. Or it had happened already. I don't know.
But I will say Black Widow's death is, like, it caught me off guard.
Oh, yeah.
It was definitely sad because it showed that they really did love and care about each other, not like in a romantic way, more in like, like a brother and sister type way,
I think seeing her dead body was even worse than seeing Gamora's because you actually
it was
because you see the blood and like her eyes are open and like Gamora just looks like she's taking a nap in Nickelodeon slime.
Scarlett Johansson took that beat.
You know this is what I think this is one of my nitpicks about the movie is that I felt like Black Widow didn't really do much except cry.
Well, I mean, what exactly did you want her to do?
I don't know. I mean, I will say like when you divide what the characters did in Infinity War and Endgame, she had a better role in Infinity War than in Endgame.
Well, also because when you look back on Infinity War, there are a lot of people who did more, and then there were people who did less. Like, Cap was literally just in Infinity War to show he had a beard, and then you look in, and then Panther was there for like 2 minutes. And then, in Endgame, you wanted to give more people, their time to shine. Cap, this is his time to shine. Tony, this is his time to shine. Thor, you kind of had to give, I guess some other characters, more of the low light. And I guess the way somebody explained this to me was that Hawkeye actually had something to go back to when all this was said and done. Black Widow didn't have a family. She didn't have kids. She didn't even know the name of her father until Red Skull had to point it out to her.
She didn't even have Bruce by this point.
So this kind of points out to the Black Widow movie that it more than likely will be like a prequel to show how she became Black Widow.
Right.
And then you have Hawkeye. He's going to do his Disney Plus show. But very emotional scene. Hawkeye is in pain. Jeremy Renner is just. He really sells the fact that he's hurt. Like
what does make me mad is how like everyone's just casually able to hold an Infinity Stone now.
I know. Was nobody else mad about that? I was.
So was I. Because you saw what the Tesseract did to Red Skull. You see what the Power Stone does to the Collector's servant, and then the Guardians, and then here you are. Everybody's just holding it like.
Well, I understand the Soul Stone because, like, if you're willing to make that sacrifice, that means you're gonna hold it.
Well, remember they said in the previous movies that like beings with immense power are the ones capable of holding an Infinity Stone.
Yes, but that's especially true about the Power Stone. I think the Soul Stone is the exception because of how its power, how you have to retrieve it.
Here, hold this.
The scepter is the one that I'm really pissed off about because anybody can hold the scepter, but apparently only Vision can handle the Soul Stone, or is it the Mind Stone?
No, he has a Mind Stone.
Well, yeah, like you guys just said, I guess there's just certain stones, like the Soul Stone, can only be held by somebody who sacrifices something that they love. You know, the Mind Stone was only worked for Vision because it was literally his mind. You know, the Power Stone, Star-Lord was able to take because at the time he was part human and part God. The what is it? The Time Stone was given to Doctor Strange because he was worthy of it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That didn't really bother me because I looked at it as like, what we were just talking about. The stones were only given to those who were worthy. Only those who were worthy were able to handle it. But everybody, got their stones back. They went back to their present time, along with, past Gamora, who they don't know is the past Gamora.
Thor throws a bench.
Yeah, they're grieving over Black Widow. It's a very emotional scene. You see Cap do his man cry with that single tear coming down.
But yeah, you meant past Nebula, right?
Yeah, past Nebula.
Yeah, but so after, what did you think of the Stark Gauntlet, like the Infinity Gauntlet that they make with the nanotech?
Here's one thing that I'm questioning is that they made it abundantly clear in Infinity War with Eitri the elf. I made a gauntlet that's powerful to harness all 6 Infinity Stones. And then Tony Stark is able to go, "Oh, really, bitches? Watch this." So basically, Stark tech is on par with, light years ahead of us, alien technology. So,
Apparently.
What was that?
No, I said apparently.
I don't know, but yeah, he made his own Infinity Glove, which that was another rumor, and it came to pass. It was true. And Hulk tried it on, and it literally burned the side of his face and his arm, which that was pretty intense.
I like how they're fighting to see who's gonna do it, and Thor wants to, but then they basically tell him like you're too drunk to handle it.
And you're too drunk and too fat to do it.
And then Tony tells him, wish everybody back, but wish back the people that we already have, like my daughter, A, B, C, and D. Snaps his fingers, and then you see, what's it called? Ant-Man looks outside, and he notices that all the trees are back, and it looks beautiful outside. And I think it was Hulk who looks up, and he sees Thanos' ship. And
that scene freaked me out because, like, remember they finally realized that everyone's brought back because Clint's wife is calling his phone. But I thought Ant-Man died in that scene when Thanos' ship launched that rocket, and you just see him fly back.
Mm-hmm.
That scared me. I was like, "Oh fuck! Please don't kill Ant-Man." But
I thought he was scared, and I stopped paying attention to my watch to see what time we were in the runtime. So I was thinking, okay, he's dead. Maybe they'll go back and bring another Ant-Man back with them.
Yeah, it was a pretty intense scene, and then obviously you see Ant-Man's okay. He was able to shrink himself, I guess, to make sure he wasn't, I guess, further damaged or whatever you want to call it. You see War Machine and Hulk and Rocket trapped underwater. And I actually felt bad for Rocket because he was like, "I can't breathe. Get this thing off me." I'm like, "Oh shit, Rocket's gonna die."
That part was almost about to make me cry because I was like, "He can't breathe. Somebody help him!
Don't kill the rabbit."
No, for a split second I was like, "Somebody get his inhaler!"
You see Hawkeye grab the gauntlet and he's running, and then you see I guess Thanos' alien creature pets, chase after him. He's able to fend him off. Outside, you see Thanos coming out with old Nebula, and you see old Gamora and present Nebula on the ship. Gamora is able to Nebula is able to convince Gamora, hey, let's fight Thanos. You know what he's going to do. They end up getting off the ship, but before that, old Nebula goes inside to retrieve the gauntlet from Hawkeye. Hawkeye doesn't know it's old Nebula until she gets on her communicator. And you see Gamora and present Nebula take her down. Well, actually, present day Nebula kills old Nebula and takes the gauntlet. Outside, you see Thor, Cap, and Iron Man team up. Thor's able to get his outfit on, with his big stomach.
Somehow.
Did anybody when that moment happened? Did anybody question? Was like, oh shit, he's gonna be ripped again. It's gonna be the real Chris Hemsworth is popping up. And then what happens? Nope, still fat suit.
I thought when that happened, I thought his beard was gonna be trimmed. I thought he was gonna go back to his short hair look. Just because of, again, because I believe I should know by now not to believe the marketing, but yeah, I wasn't. He's starting to look like that one fat guy from the Warriors 3.
Yeah, he's trying to pay tribute to him. So the 3 original OG Avengers go after Thanos. They fight him, and then the biggest oh shit moment is when Thor is trying to fend off Thanos with his Stormbreaker, and then you see the old Mjolnir hit Thanos, but it ends up being called to Cap. So Cap is worthy of holding Mjolnir, which is a callback to Age of Ultron, where Cap was barely about to lift Mjolnir. What did you guys think about that scene?
I thought that was badass.
The whole theater went, oh shit.
I was speechless. I couldn't react. I was just, wow.
Yeah, even Thor was like, I knew it.
Like, you were hiding it from me.
It's like, you fucker.
So the whole time you see Cap with his shield in one hand and Mjolnir in the other hand, and it looks like Cap is about to actually take down Thanos. But then, Thanos takes out Iron Man for a bit. He takes out Thor. He's literally caving his face in. And then it's just down to Cap, and then he ends up breaking his shield in half, and then Cap, gets up. And I thought he was going to do the whole I can do this all day thing, but he didn't say that. So he ends up strapping in his shield almost to kind of say, okay, this is it. This is my last stand. And then you hear somebody say, Cap, come in. Cap, it's Sam. And right behind Cap, you see the little orange portal thing that Doctor Strange does. You see Black Panther, you see Shuri, and you see Okoye come through. And then you see more portals open, and it's everybody, back to life. You see Spider-Man, you see the rest of the Guardians, you see Doctor Strange.
I told Irving after the movie, I kind of wanted to see how the dust formed back into people.
Oh yeah.
Or like how they like.
Probably cost too much money.
Or how they at least how they emerged back, like when the snap happened again, like what exactly happened for them to come back.
Oh, it was a 3-hour movie. I guess they could only do so much. But that scene, you literally see everybody, literally every freaking hero character, all in one fight. And then Cap what was that?
Except Quicksilver.
Yeah. Which he was actually listed as a cast member of this movie. But anyways, Cap finally says Avengers Assemble. And it's, all the Marvel characters versus Thanos and his army. Describe the atmosphere in the theater, also with you guys, but with everybody else in the theater when that scene happened.
The whole theater cheered.
Hell yeah.
You want to know what's one thing, though? And it kind of frustrates me about watching movies on Thursday nights or Friday nights. The entire theater cheers. And usually I actually don't like the theater to cheer.
Because you can't hear anything.
Yeah. And so it kind of pisses me off. but this time I didn't really mind it because like this is the biggest movie of the last 10 years. I was like, how many movies can you actually say are this big with this much hype? Avatar, maybe. Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
The Dark Knight Rises, probably. I don't know.
The Dark Knight Rises, yes, but the hype quickly shot down after the unfortunate tragedy. But yeah, like this is the movie of our generation. How many more people can?
I was literally trying not to cry. Like I was trying to hold it in.
I thought it was.
I look over at my girlfriend and Niagara Falls, like on her face, like she was crying during that scene.
Yeah, I don't blame her. It was a beautiful scene. Just everybody banding together to fight together, like literally characters like you never thought you would see on the big screen together, all together, like Ant-Man running across, Valkyrie flying, Spider-Man swinging through. And that scene was like even Pepper's in her own rescue suit.
Mm-hmm. Now, the one thing that I really liked this scene, and it was the 18 scene, when all the female characters are there and then like she's got backup. The one thing that got me from that scene was this is all we're gonna get. This is the scene that they're gonna be like, look, we put all the female characters in one scene together,
except Black Widow.
Well, yeah, except for Black Widow, but she died before that. But then I thought about it and I was like, this is pretty much Marvel telling us, yeah, we hope you enjoyed this scene because we're not giving you a full movie with them.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're gonna do something down the line.
Maybe.
They'll do something, but it's like, yeah, you're not gonna get it right now.
But
here's a taste. Here's a small taste, but we're not gonna give you the whole cake.
But yeah, it was a lot. Just and then one thing that did piss me off is just how powerful you see Scarlet Witch is and how much she could have been a big asset in Infinity War.
Yes, like that scene where she comes in and she sees Thanos and she says, "You took everything from me," and he goes, "I don't even know who you are," and she goes, "Well, you're about to," and it looked like she was about to fucking kill him single-handedly.
You saw her; she grabbed two of those Leviathans and like threw them on the ground, basically.
So then he.
I love how Thanos says, "I don't even know you." Go here.
I know. It's like I didn't even do anything yet. From my perspective,
you can take those lines and apply it to any other scene, and it would just sound like an obsessed ex-girlfriend.
But
you took everything from me. I don't even know you.
But I like the little reunion moment when Peter and Tony come together and he's like, "Mr. Stark," like I was trying to find, I couldn't believe it. Like we came from the dust, and Steven's like, "Come on, we got to go help." Like it's been 5 years, and I was like, "What?" And then all Tony can do is just hug him at that point.
And then the two scenes with Tony and Strange. The first scene is when he says, "Hey, when you said that there was one way we were going to win, what was it?" And he goes, "If I tell you, it's not going to happen," which that makes sense for what ends up happening. And also the second part is he looks over at Strange and Strange just points up his finger, pointing up the number one. So Tony already knows it's going to happen. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, can you imagine if like Doctor Strange flipped him off? That would have been like a totally different.
Well, no. Speaking of flipping off, I guess we can get into the final, the final scene at the end of the big fight scene. What is it? What's it called? They're trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet to the. I just. I'm blanking on the name. Why am I blanking on the name?
The quantum tunnel.
Yeah, the quantum tunnel. There you go. And different characters are going. There's a nice little scene with Black Panther and Clint, where Black Panther goes, "Clint, give it to me." It's kind of a callback to Civil War, where Clint goes, "You don't know me. I'm Clint. I don't care." But
I was like,
now T'Challa does care.
Bro, he thought Black Panther was going to be the one to put it on.
I thought so too,
because they have a bunch of scenes where he, especially in the modern Secret Wars comic, how he's wearing it like almost the entire time. I thought he was gonna put it on because like the dude's ate the heart shaped herb. He can handle a lot.
Do you think it would have been like really kind of corny if everybody just tried it on?
Yeah.
Like you see, like I'm glad they didn't do that. But anyways, you see Spider-Man trying to get it to the quantum tunnel. Then you see Captain Marvel come back because Thanos' ships are firing at something, and you can't really tell what it is. And you see the golden glow come to the battlefield, which is Goku. I'm just kidding. And ends up being Captain Marvel.
Saying 3, Captain Marvel.
And for a second, it looks like she's bitching out Thanos, like because Thanos is trying to do the same thing he did with Cap in Infinity War.
I love when Thanos headbutts her, and she's not phased one bit.
Oh yeah.
I think she also makes him flinch, and then right when she's about to get the glove off, he literally takes out the Power Stone and punches her in the face. And then Iron Man comes in and tries to squabble with him too. And then Thanos, swipes him off, and then Thanos says, I'm inevitable. And then he snaps his fingers, and he realizes stones aren't there. Tony got him off.
So what was the reaction in your theater during that scene? Because Nars, when that happened and he snapped, everybody laughed when nothing happened.
Well, I'll get to that when I get to the Iron Man scene. Actually, I think everybody did laugh. I was more just like, yep, they're not there. That's too obvious. But it gets to Iron Man's glove. And then you see the stones crawling, to the places on his, Iron Man glove. And at first I thought he was going to flip him off, which I thought would have been pretty rad. But he ends up going, and I am Iron Man. And he snaps his fingers, and all of Thanos' army, including Thanos himself, snap away. And you see Tony, who has, 8, second, third degree burns on the side of his arm where he snapped, and he just slowly dies, and you see the arc reactor on his chest just fade away. And it was sad because Tom Holland really goes for those crying scenes, with those big old puppy dog eyes, saying, Mr. Stark, we won. He's crying, and Pepper is saying, it's okay, it's all right, rest. And she's crying too. That's where I lost it. That's where I immediately started just like bawling.
I was almost saying to myself, he's not going to die. He's going to be in a coma. Watch.
Oh yeah. Alyssa even said that, and she was like, "He's okay. He's only taking a power nap." And then the realization kicked in, and she's like, "He's gone. He's really gone."
God, but I felt it was a fitting ending to Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's always been the heart and soul of the MCU. The MCU literally began with him, and with the success of Iron Man, they were able to make their own MCU universe or their Marvel Cinematic Universe. And
because of Iron Man, he was able to crank out money.
Yeah, I mean,
boats of money.
And then you see Tony Stark. They have his funeral, and then they show the arc reactor from the first, the old arc reactor gift that Pepper gave him, saying, it's proof that Tony does have a heart. And that was an ultimate tearjerker right there. And it literally shows everybody at the funeral. It's literally showing the camera pan to one character, then to another character. It shows the little kid from Iron Man 3 at the funeral.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was him. Yeah, actually, I think I was the only one that knew that was him, because my girlfriend and her sister were like, "Who was that kid?" I went, "That's the kid from Iron Man 3."
I told Irving, I was like, I think that's the kid from Iron Man 3.
It's just the kid grew up, and he doesn't look like himself anymore.
Yeah, he looks like a shirt. He's just pretty much a grown ass man right now. I did like how Happy was
talking with Morgan at the end of the movie, and she was like, I want a cheeseburger, and it just made me think of the first Iron Man movie when he's got that bag of Burger King cheeseburgers, when he comes back, and he was like first thing on my list is I want an all-American cheeseburger, and you go to freaking Burger King of all places.
No,
wasn't that actually the first episode of y'all's podcast? It was called American Cheeseburger.
That was the title of our first episode,
All American Cheeseburger,
and it's just funny how he's like, your dad liked cheeseburgers, and it's just cool to see how like Jon Favreau is the one who, almost essentially started the MCU, kind of there, almost sending off what he started.
He'll be back for Far From Home, where he's apparently trying to hit on Aunt May. But it was a nice little scene between him and his daughter. Kind of the funny thing, I wouldn't say funny, but I thought it was kind of weird that Ross was at the funeral.
General Ross was at the funeral?
Yeah, you didn't see Ross at the funeral?
Yeah, he was there. I thought he hated Tony.
He was right behind the Iron Man 3 kid.
Oh, that's right. I was like, who's that old man too? But yeah, you're right. I thought he did hate him.
I mean, the guy hates the Hulk, and they were in the same funeral.
True.
I like how they've never interacted since the Incredible Hulk.
Well, you know why? It's because he's not going to recognize him because he's not Edward Norton.
He's like, which Hulk are you? Are you dumb Hulk?
He's like,
are you big Hulk?
And then he's like, are you Sam Elliott?
But yeah, and then you hear Tony. I guess he made a message hologram saying, "If you're reading this now, then we've already, I guess, went back in time." And it's a nice little scene. And then it shows Cap using the quantum realm to return the stones. As soon as they're ready to bring him back in 3, 2, 1, he doesn't come back, and then you see Sam look off into the distance. You see an old man sitting at a bench, and that's when you realize, oh shit, he came back and he's old. And he basically told Sam, I wanted to try that normal life that, Tony was telling me about. So he basically, when he was returning the stones, he went back in time. And like they said in the quantum realm, what seems like 5 hours in there is actually 5 seconds in real life. And or no, actually with Ant-Man he said 5 years is actually 5 hours in real life. So if Steve was in the quantum realm for like a few hours there, that meant it was like 10 seconds in real life or whatever. But he ends up going back in time to seeing Carter and starting a relationship with her, getting married and living a normal life, and comes back and he's old, and Sam tells him, I don't know what I'm going to do when there's no Captain America in this world, and Cap gives him the shield, a la like the comics where, Falcon is Captain America, and tells him, well, I think you're ready for it. I'm pretty much it's a nice way to retire Cap, since Chris Evans made it abundantly clear that, he was, done with the role. He was retired. So
I gotta know how he got that new shield.
He's probably had it sitting around since 1970, waiting.
He probably got it back from Howard, I'm guessing.
So here's my thing. I know a lot of people are complaining like, oh, but how is this going to mess with the timeline? The timeline's all messed up. I was like, think about it this way. Steve went back in time to be with Peggy. He knows exactly how the timeline is supposed to play out. So he can just stay out of the way and let the timeline play out so that the Steve that went back in time is living in the same time as the Steve Rogers that we've been watching.
What's awkward is that he made out with his own niece.
That's true.
Well, he did go back in time and marry Peggy, so maybe she didn't have a niece.
No, that's the thing is like,
wait, how does
this timeline has to be cohesive?
How does that make sense? How would it would have been her sister or brother who had it?
Well, yeah, you're right.
I was like, Drew, that's not how reproduction works.
I just realized what I said.
The thing is that Peggy never says who her husband is. S.H.I.E.L.D. has technology to change your face. And easily he could have just put that on while he was in the world and no one would know that he's Captain America. He could have just changed his name legally and just said like, hey, my name is Drew Carter now.
Drew Yari.
How'd you know my real name?
Runs.
So he So when Peggy did that interview in, what was it, The Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
She's not talking about just anybody. She's talking about Steve. Like, if it wasn't for Shield, I would never have met my husband. Who's her husband? Steve, because this is all the same timeline that we're watching at this point.
I wonder if they have kids together.
I was wondering about that, but it never says that they have kids in Civil War. And you want to know what's the weirdest thing about that?
What?
Both Steves were at that funeral then.
I thought about that too.
He was just making sure that he wasn't seen by older Steve, by younger Steve. And it also makes me realize Steve Rogers is like 150 years old at this point.
That super soldier serum has done him some wonders.
I know.
All right, boys. So that's pretty much Avengers Endgame for you. It ends with showing Steve back in time dancing with Peggy. There's no post-credit scene. There's a real nice signature scene where it shows the original, 6. It shows, the actors' signatures and then it says their names, which I thought was pretty cool.
I love how they say that for the ending. Like you get the supporting cast gets their credits first.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally at the very, very end, like when it shows the Marvel Studios logo, you hear the sound of, Iron Man making his, first Iron Man mask, which again was a nice little callback. And then it ends. Basically, how would you guys rate this movie?
I thought it was the perfect send off. I thought it was like even if they never make another another MCU movie after this, which obviously is not going to happen, I'd be totally fine with it because I felt like this concluded the story that they set out to tell. What about you, Irving?
So I know that there's a rumor going around that apparently Marvel might not make a movie in 2020 to give people a break. It wasn't to me.
I believe there's 3 movies coming out next year because there's Doctor Strange 2, there's a Black Widow movie, and then there's the Eternals.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if they had gotten confirmed yet. But if we don't have a movie in 2020, I'm perfectly okay with it right now.
So am I.
Like, this is the culmination of 22 movies, 10 plus years of cinematic workings that no one ever thought was ever going to work, even in 2008. And here we are talking about probably one of the best superhero movies, if not the best superhero movie of all time.
Yeah, because these again, like I was telling Derek before he got here, these are movies that are literally a part of our, our lives, our childhood. I was, literally out of high school when the first Iron Man movie came out. When we have kids or even nephews or nieces, we can show them these movies and be like, these are movies that we grew up on. These were characters that we grew up on. We love these characters. I remember there was a movie reviewer guy that compared Infinity War as almost being like the Empire Strikes Back of our generation.
Oh yeah.
And I agree with you guys. If they say, hey, there's not going to be any more MCU movies for another year and a half, I'd be fine with that because you don't want to sully the story. But the way I look at it is like the next phase, which is phase 4, I believe, is going to be a beginning of a new era, a beginning of new characters. They're going to focus on the newer characters like Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange isn't that new, but he's now this is going to be a sequel movie. You're going to focus more on him, and then you're going to have Spider-Man kind of carry the burden. You're going to have Black Panther carry the burden. You're going I should stop saying burden because that sounds bad. But Black Widow.
I think you're saying like how this movie, it's an ending, but at the same time it's a new beginning as well because Cap's retired, Iron Man is dead, and then Thor gives the reign of Asgard to Valkyrie, so that he can go chill out with the Asgardians of the galaxy.
And that's another thing about going back to what we said earlier, where Star-Lord gets no love. Like there's that nice exchange between Star-Lord and Thor, where they're battling to see who's going to be the the captain of the ship. And
it makes you wonder what, I guess, maybe the plot of Guardians Volume 3 is going to be them trying to find Nebula. I mean, not Nebula, Gamora.
I think so.
Because she kind of just disappeared after the battle.
I'm actually really hyped for Guardians 3 now, because now you have Thor and now you have Adam Warlock, who was teased at the end of the second movie.
If they bring him.
Oh no, they're going to bring him in because James Gunn's already back. He's back to direct the movie. It's his script. He has to be in it. If you're going to tease somebody, you better be able to deliver on it. But I'm hyped for it. Again, going back to what I said, it's the beginning of a new era, and then now you're incorporating, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, just a bunch of new characters. You have the possibility of bringing in Namor, which Irving, supposedly there was like this scene where Black Widow is talking to all the holograms, and then Okoye tells her that there's an earthquake in the ocean outside of Africa. Supposedly, that was like a nod to Namor. What'd you think of that?
I didn't think about it, but now that I am,
Yeah, because like before we started recording, somebody posted an article saying there was a Namor Easter egg, and then they pointed that scene out, which I'm like, huh? Because usually, pretty much in Marvel movies, you kind of have to pay attention to what everybody says and what everybody puts in writing, because you have to go, oh, is that an Easter egg name I'm supposed to pay attention to? And in that scene, when I first saw the movie, I was like, that's very oddly specific. That she's telling her the best thing to do about it is to not do anything about it.
yeah.
Because basically from the comics, the Wakandians and the Atlanteans, it's a blood war. Okoye wants nothing to do with Namor. She doesn't want to mess with him. Leave that to T'Challa. But what were your guys' highlights and lowlights of the movie?
Highlights were Korg. So highlights were obviously the final battle, the time travel.
The fight scene between the Captain Americas.
Maybe not a lot of people like it, but I liked how they kill Thanos, and then it just sets the mood. Like they failed, and they feel like there's nothing they can do. Here I will say that I know it's funny, but I don't like Fat Thor.
What?
I don't. The reason why is because Infinity War made him the most badass he could ever be, and then they threw it out all away in Endgame.
I thought
the dude's walking around like a pregnant soccer mom throughout the entire movie in yoga jeans and like hoodies.
And for some reason, fingerless gloves.
Yes.
I still didn't understand the fingerless gloves.
And Crocs.
Another highlight, America's ass.
Oh, definitely.
I like how they kept some characters dead, like Vision, Loki, Gamora. Maybe it's because we've only watched the movie once. I can't really think of any other lows.
Me either. I have my tickets for Monday though.
I'm gonna see it again soon,
Okay,
probably.
Let me retract that. Instead of lows, like what are some scenes that you thought could have had more attention to it? If that's what I don't know, like what are some scenes that you thought could have had more attention to it, or if there's just anything you kind of nitpicked at?
More attention to it.
Somebody mentioned to me, what about Scott Lang's ex-wife? Where was she? What happened to Cassie? Did Cassie have to grow up in an orphanage for 5 years until she turned 16 years old? Come on, guys, we need answers.
My question was, where was Luis?
Oh
my!
See, before the movie started, I told Irving what they need to do just before the movie starts is he needs to just narrate everything that's happened in the MCU in like that Luis style.
So Scott, so what happened is Tony Stark goes to Afghanistan to promote his new stuff. Like, hey, I'm Tony Stark. I got weapons. They're badass. And then Afghanis kidnapped me, and I'm like, oh no, I think I'm dead. I got an art reactor in my chest.
And see, what sucks is that they had everybody on deck. They had all the cast there. They could have filmed it, but they chose not to. I think that's one of my one of my things
Hopefully,
that
hopefully it's in the special edition Blu-ray that comes out.
I think it has to be because a lot of people have been demanding it. Like it's like the Snyder cut, only it's actually more plausible.
Hey, don't joke about. Hey, don't be joking around the Snyder cut.
Everybody knows we're never gonna see that.
Yeah,
Joss Whedon would turn over in his grave before we see that.
and Joss Whedon's probably turning in his grave, knowing that the Russo brothers made a better Avengers sequel than him. Oh wait, he's not dead. Why did I say rolling in his grave?
I said rolling in his grave because we'll probably still never see the Zack Snyder cut even after Joss Whedon dies.
You made it sound like he was dead already.
No.
He's just dead on the inside.
Well, yeah, we all saw. He always talked about the toll that Age of Ultron took on him.
Yeah, because when you look at it, it was obviously the weaker of the Avengers movies.
It was one of the weaker, but at the same time, I also felt it was probably the most important.
Yeah, because it set up Civil War, and in some aspects, it set up Infinity War.
Well, that's the reason why. It's because it set up everything that was to come. Like if it wasn't for the Sokovia incident, like we wouldn't have gotten everything else that followed.
Yeah.
Anyways, is there anything else? Is there like a topic in particular you guys want to cover, or do you want to call it a night?
America's ass.
America's ass.
Yeah, let's talk about America's ass.
I think from this movie, everybody brought out their best performance. There's like nobody really like. I think what I loved is that they didn't introduce new characters. They kept it simple and without going too much into plot. Like they wanted to wrap up everybody's story that has already been introduced, and anybody new that's to come later, like they'll bring them out later.
Mm-hmm.
But even though there was no post credits, it was just good to like sit there and just like kind of take in everything that happened. And I guess when Far From Home comes out, we'll kind of see like what's to come from the MCU after everybody's story is finished.
What are they gonna do? Finish the sixth movie?
They could now. Wait, no. Well, maybe actually.
Come on, everybody knows that would be a really bad movie.
I'm pretty sure they will. I mean, because now you got, I was gonna say Falcon. You got Vulture, you have Scorpion, you have the Shocker, and now you have Mysterio.
And see now, I think also that now that Disney's going to launch their streaming service, you'll see where the stories pick up for like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Wanda, if Vision even gets brought back. See, I think that it's going to be before Infinity War with that series.
You think so?
Unless they rebuild Vision and they're like, oh yeah, he's more robotic now, and then he has the personality of Bender from Futurama.
WandaVision.
Supposedly, War Machine's gonna get a show on Disney Plus as well.
Yeah, and there's gonna be a She-Hulk show with Mark Ruffalo where he's like, I guess it's like a way to pass the mantle.
Yeah, I can see it.
The Netflix Marvel characters won't be available for Disney to use for another year and a half or 2 years.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you didn't hear about
the Netflix Marvel characters, Daredevil, Punisher, Iron Fist, Cage, and Jessica Jones will not be available for Disney Plus to use, or just Disney in general to use for another 2 years.
Yeah, I saw that they have to run out their contract for staying on Netflix until then.
Yeah, which sucks. I mean, I get why they got canceled, but it's like Daredevil season 3 was without a doubt the better season, and also the better show of all the Marvel shows.
I still haven't had a chance to watch those.
Daredevil is without a doubt the better one. Luke Cage is okay, but here's the only thing I had a problem with the Netflix shows is that they added so many freaking episodes. Because you could have easily cut that down maybe like 8 or 9 episodes, because there was like 3 or 4 episodes in those seasons that just seemed like filler.
Yeah, I could see that as well.
Each season should have only been 10 episodes.
Looking at my cat now, I also wonder if Goose survived.
Uh, oh, Nick Fury has a goose somewhere.
Away from his eye.
Nah. uh, uh,
But overall, like the movie's rewatchable is definitely rewatchable for, especially more than once.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's definitely a movie you need to see in theaters. It might be a while until anyone can find some good seats. I looked on Santikos for like seats for tomorrow or Sunday. Everything is damn near sold out.
Oh yeah, for this weekend, it's practically all sold out. Monday, I tried to get tickets for the 6:30 show at the Palladium for IMAX. Almost sold out, like only single seats. But AMC River Center for IMAX was open for Monday. So I was like, hells yeah, I'm buying those. So I got my tickets.
Yeah, that's a movie I definitely need to see again. I'm literally pining to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. All right. So, did you guys want to plug your show?
Yeah, just I guess before we wrap up,
We just do our intro.
yeah, well, I did at the beginning, but now we're doing our outro.
Oh.
So, well, thank you for having us on your show, and we will definitely be sure to hopefully invite you onto Architect soon for any episodes that we have coming up, because we haven't really had time to record lately.
I know this.
Didn't you? You said before that I think you recorded every Wednesday, right?
We used to, but we had to cut down due to scheduling conflicts.
Oh.
Yeah, I work too much.
He works too much, and then I have school and work.
All right.
But yeah, if you guys listening to the Juriari show want, check out Architect on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play.
No, you do social media. I do plugs.
Fine. Okay, make sure you check out Architect on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Architect Pod. Follow us on Twitter follow us on Instagram at Architect Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Architect Pod. And then if you want to email us or about anything, send us an email at attackarc@gmail.com.
Don't forget to check us out on SoundCloud, Google Play, Google Podcast, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn. You can probably get us on Castbox if you import our RSS feed. Check us out everywhere where you can listen to your podcast. Not Spotify. Or Podbean.
Or Podbean. See, it sounds better when you do it compared to me.
Yeah, because that's our shtick. You do the media, I do.
Yeah, I do the funny shit.
All right,
See,
boys.
people are trying to see our banter on here.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, believe me, if you guys listen to us on our podcast, you'll see what idiots we really are.
Yep.
I like your guys' show. I'm not just saying that because you're on here. I actually do. I really like your guys' show. I like the back and forth. I like the the way you present the news and the topics you have on the show. I always say that because I always shout you guys out every week. You guys go. This is gonna sound kind of weird. You guys go a lot more deeper into the news than I do. I usually just discuss topics and what I think about it. You go a lot more deeper into it. You discuss I guess more like behind the scenes, like video games, conventions, and whatnot. And I really dig that. I respect it. I really do love your guys' show. I can't wait for the next episode, by the way, whenever that is.
Well, if we get a chance, hopefully we'll be able to invite you onto our next episode, because I think for our next one we might try to get Jesus on it again as well.
Oh,
We also still need to do the Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel tune-out of 2019.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're supposed to do a Shazam Captain Marvel review, and we never got around to it.
So,
well, if you want me on there, just let me know, and I will be there faster than the speed of light.
All right, we'll definitely let you know, man.
All right, sweet. Derek, Irving, thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for having us, man.
Absolutely. We should definitely do this again sometime.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right, take care, boys.
You too.
Later.
Later. All right, that was a good 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's the longest show I've done in a while. I would rate the quality of this call 5 stars. As usual, I will edit and upload this show. I'll upload it in a GIF in about 30 minutes or so. Basically, I'm sorry that there wasn't a Wednesday show. I just wasn't really feeling that well. Basically, I just decided to save all my time and energy for Friday, and also I just didn't want to, come on here and just half-ass it. Had a very severe migraine, and I had no way of concentrating or performing this show, so I just decided again to just kind of take a sick day for the show. Just again save everything for Friday, for today actually. But I said I was going to talk about the whole Bray Wyatt thing, on his new Mr. Rogers gimmick, or as Kevin Castle called it, Mr. Rogers mixed with Blue's Clues. So far I like it. I didn't think I was going to like it. The first time I saw it, the first time I heard about it, I'm like, this can either be really good or really corny, because sometimes corny can actually be good. And it works for Bray because I don't think anybody's ever accused Bray of not being able to be a good talker or have a good, personality on camera. He's all those things. In this creepy, Mr. Rogers gimmick, it works for him because if you look at him when he's trying to, say, "Hey kids, blah blah blah. Do you like violence? Do you want to see me stick 9-inch nails in my eyelids?" Huh? Eminem. There you go. But if you look at his eyes the whole time he's trying to be this big, goofy, Mr. Rogers guy, you see that he has crazy eyes. And then he pulls out a chainsaw. I never recalled an episode of Blue's Clues where, Steve pulled out a chainsaw. So I really like the gimmick. I'm interested to see where it goes. It's obviously going to end with him, going crazy and going back to being, the darker Bray Wyatt character and be, more disturbing than he used to be before, which I'd be down with that. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about. Shout-outs, we already shout-out, I'm going to shout them out again. Shout-outs to Architect Podcast. They were just on the show, Derek and Irving. Good dudes. Can't wait to have them back on for pretty much anything. Can't wait to be on their show whenever that is. Hopefully it's a lot sooner rather than later. Like I said earlier, I'm more than willing to be on anyone's show. I actually kind of want to make that a goal for this summer. If you want to book me on your show, if anyone's willing to have me on their show, I will be on your show. I love the thought of being on people's shows. It's a lot fun to be a guest. It's a lot more fun to be the guest. Not to say that I hate being the host, but just being able to be on other people's show and just be the guest and just shoot the shit with other people. It seems it's really fun. The Peter Position, I was just on his show. You can listen to. I have a show on Spotify. It's on iTunes. Who else? Then you got Wrestling Soup, which is on every Thursday at 8:30 Central Time. Make sure to go to their Patreon for just $5. You get all types of original content, like Global Body with John Draper, a good friend of mine. He just shouted me on Soup's episode just recently. Shout out to John Draper. That's my boy. I'm trying to get him back on the show. So it might happen. It might happen soon. We just need to set it up. And yeah, for just $5, you get all types of content. You can also listen to past episodes of the Soup, like the first ever episode of Wrestling Soup. Then you got the Don Tony Kevin Castle show, which is 10:15 Central Time after Raw every Monday. For just $5 for their Patreon, you can get all types of content, like Castle Chronicles with Kevin, and then you have his other show, which is Dark Chronicles with Kevin and a good friend of ours of the show, Trez, Lady Trez. And then you have Breakfast Soup with DT and Mish. Texas Podcast Massacre with Mitch and Nate and Lisa. They review all types of horror movies, past and present. Very entertaining show. Great dudes. They just recently had their 100th episode. That is nuts. I think I'm like a few months away from my 100th episode. I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but again, it's too soon to talk about that. But go listen to their show. You can find them anywhere podcasts are put out, like Google Play, iTunes. They also have their own website. I was on that show twice. I reviewed Insidious in the first episode and then Frailty. And I believe Kevin Castle is going to be on the next show. Julian from the Wrestling Court, another great show, another great podcast. It's my boy Julian. Check him out. I think I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting people. If I'm forgetting someone, I'm sorry. There's just so many people who think. Pretty much thanks to anyone who listens to the show, who downloads it, who retweets everything I put out, who retweets episodes I put out, who supports me. Thank you to everybody. Again, I always welcome questions. If you want to ask me any questions about any topic, please leave me a DM on Twitter, Drew Yari Show, or just write me a comment. Just anything. Ask me anything. I will answer it. You know, if you want to ask me how big my dick is, I'll tell you it's 2.5 inches. I'm just kidding. 3.5 inches. But yeah, just no questions are off limits. Anyways, again, thank you guys for listening, and I will put this episode out and faster than you can say butterscotch. Bye-bye.